Have you ever wondered what would happen if North Korea launched a nuclear bomb? Let's delve into this hypothetical scenario, a situation that would undoubtedly reshape the world as we know it. North Korea, a nation known for its secrecy and unpredictability, has been developing its nuclear capabilities for decades. Although exact details remain elusive, experts estimate that they currently possess somewhere between 20 to 60 nuclear warheads. Now imagine if one of these was launched. The moment the missile leaves its silo, a flurry of activity would begin worldwide. Radar systems, both land and space-based, would detect the launch almost instantaneously. These systems are designed to detect any ballistic missile launches anywhere on the globe, and they are always on high alert. Once confirmed, the news of the launch would be relayed to the highest echelons of governments around the globe. At the same time, the international community would leap into action. The United Nations Security Council would likely convene an emergency meeting. Meanwhile, nations within the missile's potential range would start preparing for a possible impact. The response would be swift and decisive. If the missile is determined to be a threat, attempts would be made to intercept and destroy it mid-flight. Countries like the United States, Russia, and China have systems in place capable of such an undertaking. However, the effectiveness of these systems in a real-world scenario remains untested. On the diplomatic front, the world would unite in condemnation of the act. Sanctions would likely be tightened, and diplomatic relations with North Korea would become even more strained. History has shown us that nuclear aggression brings together even the most unlikely of allies. In the midst of this international turmoil, the people of North Korea would likely be the last to know about the launch. The nation's tightly controlled media would keep the majority in the dark, at least initially. Now, we've just detected the launch. Let's see what the next few minutes hold. The first few minutes post-launch are crucial for international responses. As soon as North Korea's nuclear launch is detected, nations around the globe spring into action. The United States in particular is known for its robust missile defense systems. With facilities stationed in various strategic locations worldwide, the US would likely be one of the first to detect the launch. Its response would be immediate and decisive, with a priority on determining the missile's trajectory and potential targets. Meanwhile, China and Russia, North Korea's neighbors, would also be on high alert. The proximity of these nations to North Korea means they have a vested interest in preventing a nuclear catastrophe. China, North Korea's longtime ally, might attempt diplomatic interventions to prevent the missile from reaching its target. While Russia, with its vast military capabilities and advanced missile defense systems, could also attempt interception. At the same time, the United Nations Security Council would convene an emergency meeting. The international body would discuss the situation and plan a coordinated response. This could range from imposing sanctions on North Korea to authorizing military action. On the technological front, missile defense systems play a pivotal role. These systems are designed to detect, track, and destroy incoming missiles before they reach their targets. The United States Ground-Based Midcourse Defense, GMD system, for instance, is designed to intercept incoming missiles during their midcourse phase while they are outside of the Earth's atmosphere. However, it's worth noting that missile defense is an incredibly complex and challenging task. It's often compared to hitting a bullet with another bullet. Despite the advancement in technology, there's no guarantee of success. The incoming missile could deploy decoys, or it might be traveling too fast or too high for the defense systems to intercept. In the face of such a threat, nations would have to make split-second decisions, weighing the potential for successful interception against the catastrophic consequences of inaction. As we can see, the first few minutes are a flurry of activity, but what happens next? As the missile approaches its target, the world holds its breath. When the unthinkable happens, when the missile detonates, it's not just a simple explosion, it's a cataclysm of unimaginable proportions. The initial blast obliterates everything in its immediate vicinity, reducing buildings to rubble, and the scorching heat, hotter than the sun's surface, incinerates everything within a certain radius. But it doesn't stop there. The explosion releases a shockwave that travels at supersonic speeds, flattening structures and causing widespread destruction. The sheer power of this wave can cause injuries miles from the epicenter. And then, there's the radiation. Invisible, silent, but deadly. Those who survive the initial blast may find themselves exposed to lethal doses of radiation. It seeps into the soil, contaminates water sources, and can cause severe health problems, ranging from acute radiation sickness to long-term cancer risks. In the immediate aftermath, emergency response teams would spring into action. Trained for the worst-case scenario, these brave men and women would rush towards the danger, not away from it. They'd search for survivors amidst the rubble, provide medical aid, and begin the Herculean task of decontamination. Fallout shelters would become crucial refuges. Designed to protect against radiation, these underground sanctuaries could become temporary homes for those fortunate enough to reach them in time. Supplies of food, water, and medical equipment would be rationed out to survivors, as they wait for the all-clear signal to emerge back into their world that's forever changed. And all this happens in the blink of an eye, in the minutes and hours following the detonation. The world as we know it would be irrevocably altered. The immediate aftermath of a nuclear bomb is a scenario of devastation, of chaos, and of indomitable human spirit. The impact is devastating, but the effects of a nuclear bomb don't end there. In the hours, days, and weeks following the detonation, the world changes drastically. The immediate shock and destruction are just the beginning of a long, arduous journey. The detonation of a nuclear bomb is not a singular event, but rather a catalyst for a series of devastating consequences. The radioactive fallout is one of the most notorious outcomes of a nuclear explosion. This is essentially a deadly dust that settles over everything in its path, poisoning the land, the water, and the air. It's an insidious killer, invisible and silent. The radiation emitted by this fallout can cause severe illness in humans and animals, contaminating food and water supplies for years, even decades. Radiation sickness is another grim reality for those exposed to the bomb's lethal energy. Symptoms may include nausea, vomiting, weakness, and can progress to seizures and death. Long-term survivors may face an increased risk of cancer and other health complications. The genetic effects of radiation can even impact future generations. The environmental damage is also immense. The explosion can cause massive fires that destroy vast areas of land and contribute to a phenomenon known as nuclear winter. This is where soot from the fires rises into the stratosphere, blocking out sunlight and causing temperatures to plummet worldwide. Crops fail, ecosystems collapse, and the entire planet suffers. Moreover, the social and political repercussions would be profound. The detonation would undoubtedly trigger a global crisis, with nations scrambling to respond to the humanitarian disaster and the breach of international law. The potential for a nuclear winter is a chilling reminder of the global effects of a localized nuclear detonation. The fallout does not respect borders or nationalities. It's a grim testament to the interconnectedness of our world and the shared responsibility we all have to prevent such a catastrophe. The effects of a nuclear bomb are far-reaching and long-lasting, but how does the world recover? In the aftermath of such an event, recovery seems like a daunting task. Yet, it's a task that humanity has faced before, and will, with resilience and determination, face again. In the wake of such an unimaginable catastrophe, the world would not stand idly by. International aid efforts would mobilize, with nations putting aside their differences to offer assistance in whatever way they could. Aid would come in various forms: medical teams to treat the injured, engineers to rebuild infrastructures, and counselors to help survivors cope with the trauma. But the process of recovery and rebuilding is not just physical. It's political too. The detonation of a nuclear bomb by North Korea would send shockwaves through the world's political landscape. Nations would be forced to reassess their relationships, their alliances, their very way of life. It's a scenario that could potentially redefine global politics and relations. The incident could lead to a seismic shift in the way nations perceive nuclear weapons. It could act as a catalyst for a global push towards nuclear disarmament, a wake-up call that prompts the world to finally say, enough is enough. The fear of another such event could drive nations to work together in ways they never have before, to ensure that such a catastrophe never happens again. While the journey to recovery would be long and arduous, humanity has proven time and again its ability to rise from the ashes. Cities would be rebuilt, lives would be pieced back together, and the world would continue to turn. It would take time, effort, and an immense amount of international cooperation, but recovery, while difficult, is not impossible. While the immediate effects of a nuclear bomb are devastating, the world has the potential to recover and rebuild. But it's a scenario we all hope to avoid. It's a sobering reminder of the power of nuclear weapons, and a call to action for all nations to work towards a future where such weapons are a thing of the past.